Favorite part of being in a band is the process of writing the song and then recording it and hearing it come to life in the studio with a final mix. To this day, it blows me away, and that process is what it's all about for me.
You know, the songwriting process with Bad Religion it really hasn't evolved that much. Brett Gurewitz and Greg Graffin are the two main songwriters.
People think of Bad Religion as a great collaboration in songwriting, mostly by Brett and myself. Brett and I don't really sit in the same room and create songs. We are very studious and isolated when we write.
Everybody goes to their corners of the world and writes their stuff.
I write a batch of songs, Greg writes a batch of songs, we present them to the band.
They kind of have this healthy songwriting competition, and we're all just the benefactors of that.
All of my best songs have come when there's some intellectual puzzle I'm trying to solve.
I think we have 220-something songs, and they've really collaborated on maybe 3.
I don't know how this came about because we met totally by chance, but I think our songs sound really similar, but we don't consult each other when we're writing them at all. So, I don't know how that happened. I guess we just evolved similar styles over the years.
There have been songs that Brett and I have co-written, but even those, the idea would have originated with Brett or myself, and then the verses get rounded out or filled in by the other person, but they're both pertaining to that original point. More
today than it used to be is, me and Greg will have a little bit of interaction. Like I'll give him feedback on his songs, maybe help him come up with parts, and he'll do it on my songs, but it's still basically the same thing.
I'm not sure if I'm that good at writing popular songs in the sense of being radio-style friendly songs for Bad Religion. Most of the songs that are most famous for Bad Religion have come from Brett's brain. I think I can do that with melody. That might be my strongest gift, is that I can take words and create an uplifting pop melody. I'm not quite a cynic, but I do tend to see the darker side of things often. If you ask me just to write a real feel-good song, I don't know if I could do it. Right. And yet, some of my songs, because I'm trying to solve this intellectual puzzle, maybe I solve it, and it results in a feel-good song.
Sometimes, especially with Brian Baker and Brooks Wackerman now, Brett will bring a song in or something and say, here's an idea, and just let everybody go on it, because it's funner that way, right? You get all these people just creating all this stuff, and sometimes songs come in and they go, no, this is exactly what I want you to play, because this is what I hear in my head.
My favorite thing about being in a band is contributing to the songs, being a part of the writing process and watching the evolution of a song. Even if I didn't write it, it's still exciting to be, in the process of trying to create something.
A lot of people ask, does the music or the lyrics come first? And I've had songs where it's been just a title, and then everything fell into place from the title. I've had times when I've had just a riff in my brain, a guitar riff, and I fit the words to that.
I just wanted to say for posterity that I write my own lyrics because I'm proud of them, and I think they're probably more important to the songwriting than the music, actually, in the case of Bad Religion songs.
So it goes on a song-by-song basis, I guess you'd say.
The way the band ended up on Atlantic was this, and it's kind of ironic because, we were a punk band on an indie that was doing well. Epitaph was doing great. Bad Religion was doing great. So a lot of people wonder, why the hell would they leave and go to Atlantic?
The move to Atlantic kind of, it fell under that umbrella of Bad Religion and Epitaph kind of outgrowing each other and smothering each other.
I didn't know at that time that Brett's work at Epitaph was on the verge of being so successful.
There was a thought that Brett and I said, well, if we could get Bad Religion off of Epitaph, it would take away a lot of the workload at Epitaph, and we could kind of focus on other bands. And I agreed with that and thought, it's something we should look into. Not seriously. We were like, well, let's just go see what we're worth out in the market.
An A&R guy at Atlantic, an old friend of ours, used to write for a fanzine, says, hey man, you should sign to Atlantic. It's cool here. I'll be your A&R guy. We know each other. On a punk label, you can only ever sell, what you're doing, which is great. But, don't you want to be even bigger? Don't you want everyone to have a chance to be exposed to your music? And everyone in the band, including myself, thought, yeah, that would be a good opportunity. And, maybe an indie label can't, in this day and age, reach the mass market.
We ran into Danny Goldberg, who is a great guy. He was Nirvana's manager and Bonnie Raitt's manager and a straight up guy. And he really did understand what we were trying to accomplish. And all of a sudden it was, well, here's a legitimate contender who would actually be in our corner.
So it sounded like a good idea. And we went through with it. And something like 2 weeks later, the Offspring's song Come Out and Play got on the radio, and that record just went through the roof. And went platinum and went beyond. It sold something like 5 million in the US now. Proving that a punk band can do it on an indie label. By then, Bad Religion had signed to Atlantic, and Offspring and Rancid were on Epitaph, becoming superstars. And I would have liked for my band to have been on Epitaph, becoming a superstar too.
People do need to understand why all these things happened. It's like until you're like in a band and working at the label and saying we got to get balance here, it wasn't going to make any sense.
The truth is that if it had been slightly different timing, I don't think Bad Religion ever would have gone to Atlantic.
We went to Atlantic amidst a very difficult time in terms of band communication. So it wasn't such a glorious decision, such a great feeling to put out a record on a major label.
I think the naivete on my part about going to a major label was the turnover rate for employees and executives there is insane. Like every 3 months, it's like you get a whole new crew.
Through no fault of Atlantic Records, no fault of Epitaph, so many cultural factors conspired at that moment to make it an inauspicious move that we just sort of trotted along and, didn't realize the direction we were headed.